is definitely, maybe it's here. Oh, I've got it. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 6, 2017 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. If everyone could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my left is our Vice President, Gary Merrill. To my right is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis. Farzana Ahmed is on another location today, and Jennifer Walliams is our clerk, so we can begin.
Resolution number 17-1168, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held November 2nd, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-1168. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment or elected official comment today, so that moves us to item number 4, resolution number 17-1169, in the matter of approving purchase orders and announced certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 1103.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-1169. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1170, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 17-1170. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1171, in the matter of Delaware County Board of Commissioners supporting the initiatives and opportunities led by SourcePoint in partnership with the Delaware General Health District to designate Delaware County an age-friendly community.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning. Sheila Huddleston, your Health Commissioner. Just thanking you for the opportunity. Bob's actually going to tell you a little bit more about the age-friendly community. But as your health district and as an accredited health district nationally, one of the things that we are responsible for is assessment, community health assessment, and we partner with SourcePoint on a lot of issues and initiatives related to that. But one of the requirements that we have to do is to look at vulnerable populations. So we're excited for this opportunity to partner with SourcePoint, because sometimes our elderly population is a vulnerable population. So Bob's going to tell you all about it.
Good morning. Bob Horrocks with SourcePoint. Appreciate the time on your agenda this morning. We're excited to be here to seek your endorsement of an initiative that, as Sheila mentioned, we're calling Age-Friendly Delaware County. And while this is a SourcePoint and Health District initiative, it's much broader than the services that SourcePoint provides and supports in the community. It's much broader than the services that the Health Department provides and supports in the community. And so we will be bringing, a number of stakeholders from around the county together to help us look at the gaps that may or may not exist in terms of age friendliness in Delaware County and our older population. And we'll be looking at 8 specific domains. And I'm not going to talk about all of those, but just as an example, senior housing is a domain. We'll be bringing folks to the table that are familiar with that topic. Transportation's a domain. Employment and volunteerism is a domain. How can we do better in that area? Communications, respect, being engaged in the community, and what factors are connected with those topics. How are we doing as a county? How are the communities throughout the county doing? And so we'll be bringing a number of people to the table. The Health District will be doing a fairly extensive assessment and surveying of our older population in the community. So we're real excited to get started with that, the first year will be focused on assessing, and then we will be around the table talking about what strategies we might employ to effectively deal with any gaps that we find that exist. This is not some sort of initiative where we have any sort of hammer. It's totally a volunteer kind of thing. I know we have a great county. I suspect that we're going to do pretty well, but there are, I also suspect that there are gaps in particular parts of the county in terms of these initiatives. We have some great partners in the social service community and beyond, and everybody wants to do better. And so this will help provide us some data and a forum to discuss our gaps and how to make Delaware County a better place to live for our older population. So we're excited to get started, and we're seeking your endorsement today, and I'd be happy, along with Sheila, to try to answer any questions that you might have.
The timeline then, Bob, if you could just explain the different stages a little bit.
You bet. Well, the first, we want to get started identifying people to be around the table yet this year. We'll be pulling folks together early next year. The assessment tools will be ready probably by the spring, and then we'll start doing the assessments. We're looking to have a report from that probably about this time next year. And then it's actually a 5-year process of developing strategies, having individual partners help identify things that they may or may not be able to do. A lot of this information will be helpful as organizations write grants or make their own particular plans for the future. And so it will be a process over the 4 years after the first year of assessment of coming together and keeping track of where we are and what we want to do and how we're doing.
I've got to make a statement here. To be true to myself, and Bob knows where I'm headed, I will support this, but ARP is not one of my favorite organizations because of the position on Obamacare a few years ago. They supported it, and because of that, I refused to join the organization. But I will support this because of, I think, all the good it'll bring. I just wish it was a different organization. So, but I thought, to be true to myself, I had to make that statement.
Certainly understand that.
And Commissioner, it is also the World Health Organization, it's not just AARP.
That's, okay.
Yeah, again, I think it's an interesting project. I think we do a really good job of working with our seniors, and particularly at Source Point. I mean, you guys do a great job, and it's a great asset to Delaware County, and well used and well run and so on. So look forward to learning more about them. Like you said, there are probably gaps, and we aren't as good as we've done. We probably can do better. So be interested to see how it shakes out. And it sounds like it's a long process. I didn't realize it was quite 5 years. I'm sure there'll be updates in between, but
Absolutely.
yeah. So anyway, again, applaud the effort, and we'll certainly support it. And we actually do have a resolution signed as well. So.
Well, and we have excellent people doing the project.
Right. Both at the Health District and Source
So our
Point.
Health District and Source Point and the leadership there, and I have no doubt that this will yield a lot of really important information, because that's it. When you mention the gaps, too, there are, we have these terrific programs, and so we assume, okay, well, somebody can go from point A to Z, but then there just might be something that holds someone back from getting from even A to B, but at least those will identify this, and then you'll keep us informed as you're moving along.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
I was thinking this morning, it was probably about 26 years ago that the Board of County Commissioners, along with Delaware City Council, actually came together and wanted to focus on some very specific needs of our older population, And as the result of that process, SourcePoint was created. And
Oh,
so
gee.
good things can come out of these efforts.
Right, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, okay. We'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-1171. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Good, thank you. Do we want to get a picture, Dean? They get this.
Yeah, they should have taken
I'll
that.
give it.
Hey, Bob, before you leave, you do get this.
You can keep that.
You get to take this home. Whatever you want to do. It'll show up someplace, that's good. All right. Oh, okay, yes, yes.
He's trying to run you off, wasn't he?
No. Not in the least, not in the least. Okay, we'll move on.
Resolution number 17-1172, setting date and time and request for proposals for the Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services Digital Audio Video Recording System, RFP number 07CY17.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Good morning, Commissioners. David Dombrowski with Job and Family Services. I work with Children's Services. We interview children who have been the victims of abuse, sexual abuse, et cetera. And so we have a interview room that we use to do that. And the recording equipment that we're currently using is woefully out of date. So the reason we do that is so that a child only has to tell their story one time. And that way then we can share the video with law enforcement, our prosecutors, and various folks. We also do supervised visitation at the agency between parents and kids who have been removed for various reasons. Those two visitation rooms are also recorded. And we have used that also for prosecutors and other folks. And so we are looking to release an RFP to update the videoing equipment in both the visitation rooms and also the interview room. So we're asking your permission to release this RFP.
Okay, do we have this budgeted, David?
Yes.
What kind of timeline are you looking at?
So we had done a little bit of advanced work to try and get our technical specifications down so that we're pretty clear on what we were looking for. So we're looking to release the RFP soon. And then we hope to have our responses back before the end of the year and actually start to change over the equipment in January or February.
All right,
Great, yeah.
vote.
Vote on motion 17-1172. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
That brings us to item number 8, and we're going to continue with Director Dombrowski. The presentation of Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services 5-year strategic plan.
Okay, so this particular strategic plan, we had enlisted, with your approval, a consultant, which is Thomas P. Miller and Associates, so I'm going to ask these two women to come up with me. I'm going to introduce Brenda Vogley and Vicki Thompson, who assisted us in the development of the strategic plan. They're going to kind of go through the process and then kind of the results, and then we will be happy to answer any questions you have. Okay?
We got a hand up here.
Good morning. I'm Brenda Vogley. I'm from Thomas P. Miller and Associates, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with the Department of Job and Family Services here in Delaware County. This has been a great project, and certainly appreciate the leadership team, who I know David will recognize shortly. But I wanted to give a quick review, I suppose, of the kind of the process that we went through to get to where we are today with our 5-year strategic plan and also the implementation guide that the leadership team and the team at Job and Family Services has developed. So we kind of began the process with 2 input sessions. We met half a day with the internal team at Department of Job and Family Services, and then we spent the afternoon with Job and Family Services community partners, the organizations, and other departments that they work with on a daily basis, probably in some cases an hourly basis, to get feedback from them on the strengths and weaknesses, the opportunities and threats. So we basically did a SWOT analysis with them. We had nearly 100 people who provided input into those 2 sessions, and we also, of course, had conversations via telephone with all 3 of the commissioners and also with the county administrator. And again, same types of questions that we asked those 2 internal and external partners, we asked of those that we interviewed. So we collected all of that information, summarized it, and presented it to the leadership team, as well as put together some reports summarizing all of that information. From that, we learned some common themes that kind of came to the surface. One was communication, both internally and externally, how the agency communicated internally, and also how it was communicating externally with its partners and with the Delaware County community. There was also a lot of concern about turnover within the agency and the relationships, as far as building new relationships with newer folks within the agency, with the partnerships, partnerships, how we can strengthen current partnerships, and also possibly what additional resources or county partners the agency needed. And finally, resounding message that we received is that the leadership team and David's leadership of the agency were strong, and everyone that we talked to talked about the internal team and the caring and customer-focused service that they have. So from those common themes, we met with when I say we, Vicki and I met with the leadership team and started to kind of thresh out some goals and strategies that the agency could use to start building their implementation plan for the next 5 years. And also during that process, that meeting that day, we took a look at the agency's vision and mission statements and kind of revamped those a little bit to reflect more specifically the things that were happening within the community and the agency. So we'll talk a little bit about the vision and mission statement, but I wanted to give just a quick overview of the 3 main goals of the plan that were devised based on all of that input and feedback. The first is to provide consistent, accurate, and timely external and internal communication using a common language. Oftentimes when we sit down and start having discussions, we're using a lot of acronyms, and one we're calling clients or customers, so really focusing on how we're communicating both internally and with external partners. The second goal is to support and retain a team of customer service-focused professionals through team member development and training. And the third is to cultivate and strengthen collaboration with agency partners in the Delaware County community. One thing that I was amazed by as we went through this process, we work with different clients and different types of agencies and organizations, and one thing that kept coming to my mind as we were going through this process is the engagement that David and his leadership team and the entire team at Job and Family Services had in building the strategic plan and building the action steps around the strategies and goals that are in the implementation plan, which Vicki will highlight a couple of those. they actually broke their teams into working groups and met and came up with all of the action steps that you'll look at when you look at the action plan. And a lot of times we have agencies that say, well, you take all this information that you gathered and tell us what to do. And it was really refreshing to see the engagement and the input that the team at Job and Family Services put into developing this plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Vicki now and let her talk a little bit more about the specifics of what's in the plan and most specifically about the implementation guide, because that's really where the meat and the potatoes of the plan lie.
Thanks, Brenda. Good morning. I'm Vicki Thompson with Thomas P. Miller & Associates. So my helper here, thank you. If you can get us to page 13, one of the things that was mentioned by Brenda was the fact that we did go through the mission and the vision statement. I think it's better with the lights on for me. I'm sorry. My eyes are kind of old. So, you reach half a century and it's just... So just one of the things we did with the leadership team was to make sure that they understand just the plain definition of what a mission statement is. And so we made sure that we help them understand that a mission statement is a written declaration of the organization's core purpose and focus. And that's why they came up with then a little bit of a change for the mission statement. And so you see there the new mission statement that says the Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services offers programs and resources to help our community members attain economic self-reliance, live in safe, stable families, and prepare for and connect to the workforce. And then we looked at what the vision statement should be and how maybe that should be changed. So explaining to the leadership team that a vision statement describes how the world would be improved, changed, or different if the organization was successful in achieving its purpose, they came up with this vision statement. The Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services will be a valued and effective community partner that utilizes collaboration and best practices to promote the enhanced well-being of our community members. I think they did a really, really good job with that. But they really thought hard about what that should be so that it would actually represent the agency well. Brenda told you what the 3 goals are. So on page 14, you'll see those 3 goals. You'll see that there are strategies under each one of them. What's most important in this whole strategic plan is the implementation guide, because that is the living document that shows in what direction you're going, who's responsible, and when it will be done and occurred, so that you can be successful in the plan itself. What's interesting, and what Brenda had talked about, which I think is really most important, is that this team, and I think a lot of it is because of the leadership, really buys into this. So it's they own it. So it's one thing to say we have a plan, and we do a lot of these plans, and then they sit on a shelf. And I think that what's really good about the plan that's been put together by this agency is that it's very, very specific about who's going to be doing what and how quickly they're going to have it done. So if you look on page 16, and I'm just going to take the first strategy of each one of the goals, just walk you through it. Then we'll open it up for questions. But so that strategy says to develop a method or manner of giving or receiving information and feedback internally. I like that it's very specific about, is this an external goal, strategy or an internal strategy? So this one is an internal one. You'll also see that it says how quickly it will be started. This one's going to be started in the short term. What's great about this is that there's a metric, so there's a measurement that tells you if there's success or not. And so for this one, it says 80% of the team member surveys yield an overall average score of 3.0 or higher on a 5-point scale. And then it actually has who's going to be responsible for the completion, so it actually has a staff member's name there, and then the resources that are needed to be able to accomplish that strategy and goal. So you can see all the action steps are there, the completion time frame. So for instance, this one will be completed by mid-2019, which gives you about 18 months. And so they're very specific about what has to be done, when it has to be done, and who's going to be responsible for making sure that something gets accomplished. And so if you move on to then, we'll look at the first strategy of Goal 2, which is on page 18. Assess and strengthen onboarding and orientation process. Again, this is something that will be started fairly quickly. The metric is to increase new team member retention rate agency-wide by 50%. And then you have the responsible person for that and all the resources that are going to be needed. And just as an explanation, P3 stands for Central Policy, Policies, Procedures, and Plans. And then each one of the action steps is listed there along with the time frame, and this one is an ongoing one ultimately to be able to increase your retention rates. And then for, I think it's on page 27, the last example that I'll give you is Goal 3, Strategy 3.1. Create and disseminate community-wide comprehensive materials regarding DCD-JFS programs and services. Again, this one will be started quickly. The metric is completion and delivery of comprehensive materials. There are 2 people responsible for the completion of this particular strategy, and the resources that are needed are listed there. And this one will be done in about a year's time. So you can see that it is very specific about what needs to be done, what is necessary for resources to be able to accomplish it, who's going to be leading it, and it has a metric, so you actually have a measurement, and that's really important. So I think that overall, again, just the fact that there was such ownership and involvement in actually putting this together says a lot, because one of the things that is really important for you to understand is that it's one thing for us to come in and listen to what it is that the agency wants and put it down on paper and put a plan together, but it's another thing when you have a leader who will take his team to then go back to people and get their input to make sure, and what makes that the opportunity to be fully successful is the fact that you have so many people that own it, that are going to be involved in it. And so I really appreciate David and his team. I think they did a wonderful job. It was a really good experience for Brenda and I, and we'll open it up for questions.
So before we jump to questions real quick, I want Tim to flip over. So I have many members of my leadership team here. They are not all of them. Tim is a member of the leadership team, Sandy, Angela, Jennifer Appleman, who couldn't be here today, Steve Sikora is also, and Linda Rodriguez are all members of the leadership team. What we did is we broke up these goals and had each member of the leadership team who was not a senior level manager take responsibility then for convening a work group of agency team members who then developed the strategies and action steps that you saw. We refined them and tweaked them. We saw this a lot as a growing opportunity for Tim, for example, Jennifer, Steve, and Lynn. One, we have to be very conscious of how we think about our succession planning and who will be our future leaders, because I won't be around forever. Angela won't be around forever. Sandy won't be around forever. So how do you grow that next generation of leaders for the agency? So in addition, then, we had a number of staff who participated. They donated their time pretty basically. Yes, it was paid work time, but they still have work they need to do. They were still able to keep up with their workloads while investing more time here, which we thought did a nice job of building the buy-in from staff level on up. So you'll see as you read through a lot of those strategies, it begins with convening a work group of agency team members. I hope to engage all of our staff at some point in the future in participating in this. It is a 5-year plan, so there won't be opportunities necessarily always in the short run, but in the mid-range and the longer term, all staff will have the opportunity to participate. So I want to thank these guys and thank the leadership team and everybody who participated for what they did to help us develop what you have in front of you. So we are happy to answer any questions.
I'm very impressed with the buy-in, and like then that takes time and then that develops into communication too, as you work through these things.
Yeah.
And I think it's just terrific. I'm so glad.
Thank you.
Really great. I have no doubt it'll be successful. The metrics too, having individual metrics is very important. I've done a lot of research previously, and this is really good.
Commissioner Maru? How do you, it's great to plan, very important. How are you going to do updates, quarterly meetings, monthly meetings, semi-annual meetings, to make sure that the plans are moving along? With each of you or internally? No, internally. So what we've done, and you guys have seen this before, we develop an agency work plan for the whole year and break down kind of all the action steps we're going to do for various things throughout the course of the year. That's actually reviewed monthly with my executive team to go through, and they give me updates on kind of where they are with moving the different items we have on our plan. So already we are beginning to craft our 2018 work plan, and so we've encompassed all of the action steps that you'll see in these strategies for 2018. They are already built into the 2018 work plan. So I'll be getting monthly updates from these guys. I'm responsible for a piece. The leadership team is responsible for a piece, and we meet regularly, so we'll be getting updates continuously. And then each month, that work plan and the work plan update go to all of our staff, so they will also be able to see kind of how we're progressing through the plan. One of the things that was really important to us was that this doesn't sit on a shelf, that it actually, the action steps get completed, and so we'll be monitoring it monthly.
What are the 2 or 3 most challenging issues that you've identified in the planning process that will be the most difficult to achieve success on?
So I don't know about difficult. I don't know that there's any one that's any more difficult. The 2, I think, that are standing out, communication is always an issue in any agency. I think we can always do better with internal and external communication. I think here in Delaware, we have very good working relationships with most of the folks we interact with. I think there are some segments that we're missing, and so partnerships came out very strongly for us in terms of how do we cultivate those. Sometimes identifying the gaps, and Bob had spoken to that earlier. What are the gaps out there that aren't being fulfilled in Delaware County right now, and then how can the JFS play a part in helping to fill those gaps? In that particular arena, we can influence, but we can't make decisions. So that is oftentimes a challenge. How much influence can you exert without being able to make final decisions? The other issue is we have an issue with, as you guys may well know, children's services turnover this year has been really high. And so kind of what are the external factors that play into that is there's an issue, there's always, you've got issues of burnout, because burnout, the average social worker lasts about 18 months in their position, which we're seeing. Most folks are departing between the 1-year and 5-year mark, so that's pretty consistent. There are external factors. You have employers who pay more than we do. For example, you have employers who are more flexible in their working schedules and working hours and don't bring them in overnight and don't bring them in on the weekends. And so we need to explore kind of a whole gamut of things around what other employers are doing, what best practices we can bring to the county. So I think that's going to be one of the bigger challenges also for the plan.
Question.
Other questions, comments? Yeah, again, I want to thank you for, doing the long-range planning. It's very important, and wish you all complete success on all the initiatives, because there's a lot of things to do in there.
Thank you. So what we're not asking for a vote today to approve it. What I'd like to do is to give you guys a week with the plan to kind of go over it and give me any last-minute suggestions or feedback you might have, and then we will bring it back next week for the official vote.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, David.
All right, good.
Resolution number 17-1173, in the matter of approving owner's agreement for Nelson Farm, Section 2, Phase C.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. This is our standard owner's agreement for development of the street and stormwater infrastructure. This will support 31 new lots in Liberty Township off of Route 315, and we recommend approval.
Good.
Good. Vote?
Vote on motion 17-1173, Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1174, in the matter of approving a ditch maintenance petition and the ditch maintenance assessments for Liberty Trace Section 3, Phase B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? This petition involves 14 lots in Liberty Trace Section 3, would place those lots on the county's drainage maintenance system, and we recommend approval.
Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 17-1174, Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1175, in the matter of establishing maintenance bonds for Glenmead Section 1, Phase A and B, and Vinmar Village, Section 3.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? The construction of the street and stormwater work has been completed at these two subdivisions, a total of 39 lots in Glenmead and 24 at Vinmar. And this action would place those improvements on the one-year developer maintenance period, and we recommend approval.
Vote.
Vote on motion 17-1175. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-1176, in the matter of approving the plat of subdivision for Benmar Village, Section 3, Liberty Trace, Section 2, Phase A, Liberty Trace, Section 2, Phase B, North Star, Section 3, Phases A and B, Wilson Road road improvements for North Star, Section 3, dedication plat.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? As you can see, this has been a busy development year. We have a total of 131 lots that the plats are ready for your approval, and also a dedication of additional right-of-way along Wilson Road in the North Star area. So we recommend approval of each of these plats.
That was a question I had for you, Rob. What is a dedication plat?
It simply means it basically takes the place of a deed. It looks like a subdivision plat, but it's strictly for the right-of-way, so there's no lots attached to it. Basically, we did it that way because the subdivision plat had already been drawn up. Rather than redoing the subdivision plat to include that additional right-of-way, we did a separate instrument.
Right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-1176. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that is it for the regular session. No administrator report this morning. Unless I don't think anybody else has any. So,
Commissioner committee reports.
all right, Commissioner Lewis.
I don't have anything.
Commissioner Merrill.
I'll make this real quick. Last Thursday, I attended the emergency executive meeting on Thursday, a CCO meeting on Friday. Just to note that this Sunday is the ribbon cutting for Brown Township's new township building, and would encourage everybody to keep that in mind if you have an opportunity. I think it's 3 o'clock on Sunday. And we had the courthouse flag raising this morning, kind of in lieu of a ribbon cutting. Jane did a nice job with that, and I thought it was fairly well attended considering the potential for rain.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's very, very excited about resuming work and the courthouse responsibilities of the new courthouse starting today. That's all I have.
Yeah, it turned out very
Make sure
nice.
to go tomorrow.
Yeah, oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh,
Tomorrow
that's
is voting. Yeah, it turned out great. The plaza, everything just looks really nice. So, again, congratulations to everybody. Thanks to everyone who was involved. A lot of people involved. Smart Columbus, tomorrow, we've got a session with that team to learn more about Smart Columbus. We've got a 1:30 viewing today for a ditch petition out at Clark Shaw, and I forget the name of the side street. But anyway, it's out at Clark Shaw, near Hyatt's and Clark Shaw. And then I want to thank, publicly, I want to thank George Kaitza for putting a 5-year forecast together for the general fund. He got that last Thursday, I think it was, or Wednesday. And it's very well thought out, well done. Now, it only is the general fund and really needs to do it the best way possible. We need to include all the funds that we manage. But again, it's a great start, and it provides a really good look at the 5-year plan, financial plan for the county, which is very important because we're doing lots of long-range planning, and we need to have long-range financial plan in place. So again, thanks to George for doing that. That's all I've got. We do have many needs for executive session.
Yes, we do. Resolution number 17-1177, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment, compensation, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, for pending or imminent litigation, for collective bargaining, and confidential information related to economic development.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-1177. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
All right, we are in executive session.